All right, welcome in. My name is Spencer Giese. I'm an educational program manager at ACUHO-I, and I have the distinct pleasure in my role at ACUHO-I of overseeing the Housing Internship Program. I'm joined today with a number of our Housing Internship Program committee members who I'll have introduce themselves in a moment, but we're really thrilled to hear. This is a session for candidates or potential candidates in our Housing Internship Program for 2022. We're going to have a lot of time to talk about the program and do a lot of Q&A, really for you all to have any questions answered. We've got the chat function available for you all, so please feel free at any point in this session. You can drop a question there, even if it's off topic. We will get to everything that comes in the chats. And thanks again for joining us. So I want to pass it over to my colleagues that are from the committee. If you could just take a moment, introduce yourselves, where you're at, maybe a connection to the internship program, etc. So Kayla, I see you first on my Zoom Hollywood Squares, so I'm throwing it over to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm glad you were able to join us today. My name is Kayla Harvey. I'm an area coordinator at Furman University in Greenville, South Carolina, and I have the pleasure of having been through the ACUHO-I process as an intern, as well as now hosting the experience at Furman University. My internship was actually at Furman, and I'm here professionally, so I can give you a little bit of perspective, both as a candidate and a host.
I can jump in next. My name is Adam Cohen. My pronouns are he, him, his. I am a student life organizer, student organizations manager at Fordham University Lincoln Center. I have been a candidate twice now, once through Washington University, St. Louis, and through the new school.
Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Lemmerin, he, him, his pronouns. I am currently a coordinator for fraternity and sorority life at Arizona State University. Last summer, I was an intern at Texas Christian University. There's the picture of the lovely team I got to work with. But also I navigated the whole half virtual, half in person, which is kind of still the vibe for this year. So happy to be here today.
Hi folks, Lauren Murphy. I use she, her pronouns. I am currently at the George Washington University in Washington, D.C. as the Assistant Director for Residential Education. I am chair-elect of our amazing committee, so I'm very excited to have all of you with us. I've also hosted interns for the past, I was trying to count in my head, I think 7 years, and this is one of my favorite parts of the year is getting our interns to campus. So I'm very excited to get to chat with you today.
All right, thanks all for introducing yourselves, and we're thrilled to have you here. And that group will be helping to answer many of our questions later on in our session. Let's just talk a little bit about our overview of the day. I'm going to go through the program timeline, and then we're going to do some guided questions based on what you all submitted on your registration for this event. And then we're going to go through some just general Q&A that might come up in the chat. This is a recorded session, so certainly if you've got a friend, colleague, neighbor that could benefit from this recording, we'll have this posted on the ACUHO-I YouTube channel tomorrow, and we'll share that with all candidates as we continue moving forward. So without further ado, let's do a little overview of the program itself. We know that each year the program's new to so many of us that are in the that join and are seeking internships. So certainly it can be a little bit confusing. That's why we're here, and we're thrilled to get to talk about this with you. So on November 30th, our program opened. Folks like yourselves started to make profiles, and I got lots of messages in the purple chat box on the website. When can I see postings? I'd be like, not so fast yet. Soon. January 4th will come soon, and you'll be able to see them all. We're currently in the research and review period where your profiles, if public, are all visible to the employers, the host sites, and their postings for jobs are all visible to you. As of tape time today, we have 485 available internship positions, and we've got 176 internships. So many of those have multiple positions available. So there are plenty of positions for you all as candidates. It is a really internship rich market. So get excited. find that best fit for you. And we'll talk more about what that looks like. And more internships are being added daily. Yes. We've had on Monday of this week, we had 442 and now we're at 485. So we've had about 40 already this week. So that is outstanding. Once February 8th rolls around, all those applications that you may be working on now become visible to the host sites. They'll all come at once. So that's really, that's a benefit to you as interns. So whether you're filling that out at 2 p.m., 2 a.m., the first day, the last day, they won't know. And that's good. We want to keep a big wide window for you to work on that at your pace. And there's not a lot of pressure like, oh my gosh, I've got to be the first one in. They all pop up. Now, once February 8th happens, you can still apply for positions. No host site's going to be upset that they got another application. So certainly if you are recruited by a host site to submit an application or you see one that you missed, feel free to continue applying. That function will still be available on the site. And then I also invite you to continue to use the date posted or the date editing sorting functions on those positions, just to give you a better idea of like, hey, look, that's a new position that got posted, because I can tell you this week there's been a bunch that have been posted you might have missed out on if you've not looked. Also on the 8th of February, you'll start to see messaging open up where you'll have that inbox, a little envelope icon on your top right corner of your screen when you're logged into the internship program. And that may fill up with messages from schools that are interested in getting to know you more. Interviews can begin to be scheduled starting February 8th. So you may have folks that are like, hey, are you available to interview on that? We'd like to interview you. Are you available this time? So think about how you're framing your availability moving forward in the internship interview process. Speaking of interviews, those can begin on the 15th of February. And we've essentially got a 3-week window from February 15th to March 8th for most interviews to happen. So certainly don't feel like you must have all the interviews done by the 17th of February. We've got a wide window there for you to meet with schools, for you to talk with host sites, etc. And interviews can take place even after offers start. Every year we see a secondary market where offers start on March 8th. And then by March 15th, there's a number of host sites that are like, shoot, we didn't get who we thought we were going to get, or we only interviewed 12 people and they all took jobs. Shucks, they still want to intern, and there's still interns out there that are seeking internships. Typically, as your program director, I do an outreach message to both hosts and candidates like, hey, who's actively still trying to find a position or fill a position? And then I play a little matchmaker on the backside. Really, it's match.com for internships, but way more fun. And it's a 3-month commitment, not a 3-hour, 3-day commitment. So, get excited. So again, offers will begin on March 8th, and those are rolling. When offers are made, you'll be given 24 hours to consider, is that what you want to say yes to? You may have more than one offer coming at once. You may have no offers coming right away. Don't stress, breathe. It will all work out. It will all work out. What I would ask you all, and those who might be viewing this later as well, if someone tries to offer you a position in our internship program before March 8th, just hit that purple chat box on your webpage and just send me a little message, okay? Because they should not be doing that. And if you're having pressure applied to accept a position before March 8th, that's not cool either. We want this to be, as fair of a playing field as we can for all candidates in the process. And if you've got a host site that's offering you early, going outside the ethical guidelines of the program, that would give me pause on what other things might be happening there later on. So it might feel really flattering to get that before you're supposed to get an offer, but I'd be concerned that more things could happen down the line. You don't want that. All right, so the portal, so when you log into internship.ACUHO-I.org, which is where you go to look at all these postings, you can build your profile. It's editable at all times. You can use the search and advanced search functions to search through the positions, narrow down a criteria. You can use the advanced search function to select just the states that you want to potentially search in. I would always advise cast a wide net. Don't be so determined to just be in one location. You never know what outstanding opportunity may be out there. And I promise you can do anything for 2 to 3 months. I promise. says everyone who went to grad school for 2 years and said, I can do anything for 2 years. You can also do any internship for 2 to 3 months. In the portal, you'll set up interviews, you'll receive offers. The official offers must go to the platform. We'll talk more about that later in the spring on a candidate preparing for offer day session. But I just want you to know that you may get a phone call that says, hey, we're offering you a position. If it's not offered in the system, it's not an official ACUHO-I internship, and they could back out on you, and you don't want that. So we want all official offers to be offered, but then officially offered in the system and accepted. We'll show you that later on, just planting that seed. So enough about the overall structure of the program. I want you all who've stayed with us this far to start to hear from folks that have been in the process, that are here to talk about a few topics that you submitted on your registration. So I'm going to pitch it over to the committee. That was a throw.
Thanks, Spencer. So I wanted to jump right in. So I want to open it up to the other committee members, and really discuss the search process, because I feel like that is a natural place to start the beginning. So opening it up to y'all, how can a candidate find what position is best for them?
I can start with that. So really focus on what is it that you want to get out of your experience. Are you looking for something that's different than your current graduate experience? So maybe you're at a small private, you want to go large public, or vice versa. And looking at the job description, figuring out, what is it that job really is. Some of them are going to be similar to RAs. Some of them are going to be supervising. Some of them might be working in more operations side or facilities. So figuring out, what are my goals kind of post-graduation, and how does this internship line with that? And then, like I said, you can do anything for a couple of months. So maybe it's not your dream location, but it'd be a really good experience. Maybe you're not really sure, do I want to move across the country for a couple of months? You can do anything. And use this opportunity to kind of cast a wide net, figure out what would be a good fit for you, what's something that's maybe going to challenge you that you haven't had in your grad experience, and then try and figure out, what's going to be a good fit that makes sense for you, for your family, for your financial situation. All of those things are things that you should be considering.
Yeah, I'll add basically everything Kayla said. And also, I would just add that I guess like another thing might be like the dates, like kind of looking at how the dates like play into your class schedule, but also maybe like reaching out to them or just asking those questions in like a first round interview and something if they're flexible for some reason. I was just thinking like anything that's like different than what you've done in like your undergraduate or graduate experience, whether it's like a certain job responsibility or like institutional type stuff like that, or even just like location, just like trying to get like something different out of it, at least like one of those things. And then also, I don't know if there's just like a school you've always been like super interested in, or like a department you've always been super interested in, or like a region of the country or some type of institution. I don't know, just I think it's such a cool opportunity to have like 2-3 months to just go somewhere completely new and like have a completely new experience. And like also just try something out, because there's like a lot less risk with like a 2-3 month internship than like a full-time job.
I think the only thing that I can offer additional to what Kayla and Steve have also given is we have what we call competencies in ACUHO-I, core professional competencies that kind of guide the work that we do. And I know I ground my position descriptions in my core competencies, because there's certain things my internship offers that the other 2 internships at my institution do not offer, and vice versa. So I really use our core competencies to ground, like, so that I can really show you, like, these are the things that if you're really excited about residential education and staffing and living learning communities, these are the core competencies that I connect to, and this is kind of the role. I definitely suggest kind of taking a moment. If you search ACUHO-I core competencies, you can definitely find the list of them, see what kind of resonates with you, what gets you really excited as you're kind of looking through that, because you can also mark the core competencies that you're interested in when you're creating your profile. And like I said, like having something in occupancy management or operations or conference services could be very different than residential education. So starting to use this as a learning moment to kind of understand those differences, but also really kind of following your gut of what gets me so excited that I could spend a summer doing. Because I also just believe in doing things that we're passionate about. If you're going to take a summer to do do something, there should be some kind of intrinsic thing that you're getting out of it that gets you really excited. So I always say start with the core competencies. I also think like look into the schools you're applying to, learn about who they are, what they are. And again, because those could be elements that get you really excited. Maybe it's a traditional residential college model, but maybe they're doing something really unique with programming or things like that that you can find on the website. And those might be opportunities that you can kind of engage with while you're with those institutions.
Thanks all. So next I wanted to talk about the actual profiles. So looking specifically for the candidate side, what can candidates do to differentiate themselves on their profiles? Well,
I was going to offer that. I think so. The profiles is kind of you're writing to an audience that is one part of your kind of application that doesn't change. Everybody's reading it, your profile. I know for my position, I also ask for a cover letter. So that's when I'm asking you to speak a little bit more uniquely to my position and why you want my position versus the hundreds of others. But your profile for me is more, I kind of get a sense of your personality. I get a sense of your interests. So really kind of that's like your authentically you kind of space. But I always kind of let folks know that like as a profile you can't alter it per every school that you're looking at. So just be really intentional about that as well. Of if you're meeting kind of a faceless crowd of people, what do you want them to know about you? What's the things to highlight?
yeah, I totally agree with that. I always started mine with a very large howdy, just because that shows who I am and shows everything that I come and everything I'm going to bring with me. And then Steve, Kayla, do you have anything to add from the hosting side, from any other perspective?
Yeah, I can add a little bit more from the host side. So when as a host, we are getting these applications in from candidates, but typically I'm also kind of skimming through all of our candidates and looking to see if there's anyone that jumps out to me that I'm like, hey, this could be a really good candidate. I want to message them and encourage them to apply for our position. Like Lauren said, that personality shining through really helps. The other thing that for me is really helpful is in that candidate statement to quickly address, this is my current position, this is the school that I attend, this is a little bit of my background, because I'm typically with hundreds of candidates not going to open every single resume, but I can at least look at candidate statements, say, hey, I think they have some of the qualifications that I'm looking for. Let me go ahead and invite them to apply for this position. So if you can include a little bit of personality, but also some of your background very quickly in that candidate statement, that makes it really easy for hosts who are maybe skimming some applications to say, hey, I want to look into that more and reach out to that person.
Yeah, I've only been a candidate, so I don't really know the host side of things, but I saw that Andrew had a question in the chat of the average number of recommended positions. I feel like that's the magic question. I don't really know if I have an answer, but I just feel like I don't want to give a number. I'm trying to answer this question without giving a number, but I just feel like a general, enough that you feel like you're gonna have a decent number of interviews and like a decent number of chances. But again, there's also the second rounds of offers and interviews and all that. But also maybe it depends on your current work schedule, current class schedule, how much time you have. So I think enough to where you feel you'll feel pretty comfortable, but don't you still need to focus on the classes and work and everything and all that. So don't make everything just making applications for the next month and a half.
Absolutely. And so wrapping this section up, let's jump into the actual positions themselves. What type of jobs can candidates be expected to do?
I can jump in here. So definitely read those position descriptions really carefully. So they're going to talk about, like Lauren mentioned, maybe some of the competencies that you might find in that position, as well as just different things that you're going to get from that internship, whether it's supervision, occupancy management, are you getting facilities, all of these different things, because each position looks a little bit different. So look at, what experiences have you had? Are there things in your current portfolio that you feel like you're missing? Have you not had facilities experience or some operations? Are there special projects that you want to work on? What are some of those kind of key things about that internship that make it stand out from others and connects to your passion area? So make sure that you're really kind of figuring out what do you want, and then reading those position descriptions carefully to make sure that that feels like a good fit. And feel free to ask questions in those interviews or to message hosts and say, hey, wondering about this portion of the position description. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
I always tell folks to like get a sense of the overall kind of like theme of the role, like what kind of bucket they kind of put themselves in. But I also tell folks of I am never going to say no to an intern who's with my team who's like, I really at some point also want to work on this, or I want to, like you're doing this with living learning communities. I want to create a guide for campus partners and memorandums of understanding. I still have things I have to have them kind of work on just kind of in the day-to-day, the realities of just the projects I have in the summer. But I also just tell folks too of like, this is really an educational experience for you all for you to be kind of being invested in getting experiences. And if I have somebody who's passionate about something that they really want to work on, I'm not going to say no. But I do agree with Kayla of reading those position descriptions, because there's things that I can't offer in my internship. Like mine's more project based. So there is no supervision elements in my positions. They're working on teams, they're working on division and departmental committees. So they get that really strong connections with other professionals, but I don't have a student staff. I don't have students with me over the summer, so I can't suddenly create that for them. So kind of figure out what those make or break things are for you, whether it's running programs, running kind of a summer housing operation, doing project work, because those are the elements that you can't always completely change that, but also don't be afraid to ask for what you're really excited about once you get the role.
I also don't know if this is really be like a bullet point on like a job responsibilities, but sometimes there'll be like 5 interns at an institution, or like just one institute, like one. So like I guess like that working in like a team environment, how that would play into it. So I think, or that's just something that you're hoping to have like a few other grad interns up there as well. So I think that's another thing to look at when looking at the job descriptions.
Yeah, and as Lauren mentioned, which was a great segue, in talking about compensation. Compensation is not just the pay, because with the ACUHO-I there's guaranteed housing and meals. There's also certain the skills that you may learn as part of your compensation, as well as networking. And every school has its own benefits in who you're going to be working with, and that can help bolster your network in your own community. But I want to say, Spencer, you had some information regarding some compensation data.
Yes, indeed. So I'll take it. I'll go a little bit more in depth on intern compensation. I know we had a few questions coming in. So the key part of an ACUHO-I Housing Internship Program is housing. So every position out there should be offering you, as long as it's an in-person appointment, some sort of housing on their campus. So that's number one. After that, you can take a look at the different compensation packages that are out there. There are some host sites that will offer you an hourly rate, some that will offer you a stipend for the entire summer, some that will offer you a meal plan total amount for the summer, some that will offer you a weekly meal plan, and some that unfortunately don't have dining open over the summer and don't offer a dining package. So really you've got to discern, okay, where am I living? What am I being paid? Is there a meal plan? Those kind of the 3 components. And as we broke down previous internship postings, the average internship was a $4,000 stipend. So when we broke down all the listed benefits for internships in the past, the average is $4,000. So that means there's some that are obviously less than that. There's some that are a great deal more than that, because it's an average. So just be mindful, ballpark where you're at. And we also share that data with our internship sites when we talk with our host sites in future webinars. Just let them know kind of where they stand in the process. Because if we can right size it and make sure that we're offering a pretty similar compensation package across the board, that helps you all out as candidates. And certainly if it's a competitive internship market, then, we want to make sure that we're showing how a site can be competitive in that. Steve, I see a raised hand potentially.
Yeah, I just want to jump. I saw a question in the chat. I think it's Michaela. Any suggestions for people applying who do not have any housing experience?
You're going to do great is my suggestion. So we have a number of candidates that come in the pool that perhaps are pursuing a higher ed degree or just need an internship experience and they don't have housing experience, and that's okay. So just be mindful of that. What other transferable skills do you have? Have you worked on teams? Have you worked as a leader or a supervisor or an advisor in any other capacity? How can you transfer some of those skills and show like, hey, here's my emerging talents? And also understanding that really a lot of these internships are just looking for a competent human that can come in, take direction well, learn quickly, hit the ground running, and for that 2.5, 3 months, do some great work and leave the department better than they found it. I will tell you, and while we try to emphasize the need for quality direct supervision of interns and all that with all of our host sites, an ideal candidate for a host site is someone who can come in, onboard quickly, learn quickly, and while yes, ask questions and ask for clarification, but go do. And because time is fleeting, time is short, and there's so many projects that people want to get done over the summer. So just have a can-do attitude, show where you've had leadership or leadership experience in the past, and I think you'll be good to go. Thanks for bringing that up, Steve.
Yeah, I was just gonna add that I had absolutely zero housing experience, like undergrad, grad, like literally nothing besides living in a residence hall my freshman year. So I think like basically just like all the transferable skills. I think if you look at the bullet points of the job description, like what I would do is I would just write next to each little thing, even if it's like develop a program or like create a program, like list every single program you've ever created in like any other role. Or if it's supervising or advising, the list, like just write it down in the thing. And like that's what I would bring into interviews, like I have that like my little notes there. But really just like looking at every single thing on your resume, or like anything you've ever done, like write it all down, just like specifically write those like exactly transferable things, because then you'll be able to talk about that in an interview.
Great
I would
advice.
add that about a month before our interviews start. So go talk to your fellow grads who are working in housing. Go do some informational interviews with professionals in your division. Find out what does their job really look like. If they were interviewing for a position, what are some things that they would want to know? And they can help you figure out how to market those transferable skills. But use the time that you have before we're going into interviews to kind of figure out, what are the key things that I need to know about housing in order to really sell myself in that interview.
Great advice. All right, so let's move as we talked about internship compensation. I would just say in general, some of those considerations for in-person internships, I know our group talked about it quite a bit, but things point out position type, what kind of role would be you filling? Are you an RA? Are you a hall director? Are you running camps and conferences? Are you working at a front desk? What's that role look like? And be willing to learn. Again, it's a great time to experiment. These are low risk opportunities, both in learning more about yourself through your interview style, both in taking a chance on a campus that might be a fit down the road, might be farther than you were expecting to go, might be closer than you expecting to go, but it's something different. Maybe you're at a 4-year public and you want to try a private liberal arts school. Give it a shot. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities out there, and I think Steve said it best. I'd rather learn through an internship what worked for me or what didn't work for me, than to learn that once I've moved across the country and I have a full-time job, and that is the job that sustains all my bills and my way of life. So this is a great learning opportunity. Take advantage of it.
Just to jump in related to compensation, which Spencer talked about, but also considerations for in-person, something that I highlight a lot for my mentees is do kind of track what the compensation is, also in regards to the cost of living. I work in Washington, D.C. It is an expensive place to live. It is an expensive place to eat and just kind of have your daily life. So being really cognizant of that, I often recommend for my mentees to have a spreadsheet of the places they've applied to and to be tracking the compensation, especially if that's something, it's okay if that's a non-negotiable for you, because money is needed for essential things. So I just really suggest for folks to be very cognizant of just kind of keeping track of that and what their personal needs are.
Awesome. All right. One other type of internship that's out there is our virtual internships. We've got some corporate partners that offer higher ed adjacent internships that are virtual, as well as some schools that choose to they want to be part of the program still, but they're unable to host someone on campus right now. You should be able to, using the search function, search between in-person and virtual internships. If that is something that is a lifestyle for you, that would be beneficial in the summer. Not going anywhere, but certainly, working virtually. Take advantage of that opportunity in the process as well and seek out those opportunities. All right. I want to open it up to the entire group. I know we've had some questions coming in on the chat, but this is really your time to get any questions out there that you may have, things that might benefit not only yourself, but the rest of the group and those who watch this recording later. What questions are in your mind that could help with your navigation of this process? Amani, I believe you got your hand up.
Yes, hello everyone. This may be a complicated question and a complicated answer, but something I've been thinking about as I transition from, I'm currently a student and then also in my professional career. Did you find any difference between what you wanted in an employer versus what you wanted as a student in a college or university? Because something that I'm just like, I love going to big schools. I love big schools, but I'm also just like, do you like working at a big school? What's the main difference? So I wonder is like, did you all see any difference in between like your professional and student experiences and what you prefer, especially looking into these internships? A lot of them are big schools and I'm just like, is that really where I'm supposed to be? So I don't know if you all had any like insight or guidance regarding that.
I can jump in. So my undergrad was a very large state school in the SEC, and I, through the ACUHO-I program, I was able to experience a small private school a couple different times in a couple different ways, and currently work for a small private school, and learned that's how I love them. So as much as I loved the culture of the large state school as a student, it really is different working there and realizing that, the culture of each school is different as a student, as an employee, and just seeing how that transpires across the entire internship.
This is the time to get the experience to find out, what's different from your current experience, and go try something new and see what that feels like for you. So my graduate program was at our large public institution. My internship was at a small private. I work there now, again, at the small private. It does feel very different professionally. But think about, what kind of office environment do you want? I'm currently part of a really small team, and our interns are treated as professional staff members. They are going to go through all of our meetings, all our division meetings, everything with us. I know when I was a grad student at a really large institution, you don't get that experience. And, thinking about what you want for the summer. If you're going to a small private, it might mean that you're the only intern, and maybe you feel like you get more of that professional experience, but maybe you're somebody who wants that cohort style. And that's something that you would find at a larger institution where maybe there are more interns. You feel like you have kind of your group that you can hang out with in your free time. You're not the only one. So figure out what it is for you that you're looking for and what would be a good fit. It's going to feel different professionally at every institution, and the interns are going to be treated differently at different institutions. Some might be like, no, you're more of a graduate level. Some are going to be your professional staff. Some are, again, some of those internships are still undergraduate positions. So those are going to look a little bit different too, but think about, what are you looking for? What's going to challenge you? And then kind of go from there. The last thing I'll add is just that, every experience is going to be different, and those large schools and small schools do certainly operate in different ways. Thinking about some of those small schools, you might have a little bit more flexibility in kind of how things operate. Lauren mentioned, what are those kind of special projects that you want to bring that you're like, hey, this is something I would really want to do. There might be more flexibility. Some of those large schools might not have that, but they have other really, really great opportunities for you. So I would just challenge yourself, ask good questions in your interviews, and you'll figure out kind of what is a good fit.
Yeah, I think I was at a large public, and then grad school is also a large public, and then my internship was a small private, which I feel like all kind of saying similar things. But I mean, I went to, it was like, well, I guess like mid-sized private, like TCU was also like religiously affiliated. So like everything I honestly went into, I was like, I don't really think I'm gonna like this like type of institution, but I ended up like absolutely loving it. So I mean, I don't know, I feel like it's really like everyone keeps saying like the chance to try something new, but also I think in terms of, for me specifically, like professionally versus I guess like the professional culture is like different than like the student culture sometimes. So like kind of like looking through that. And I think that this is also something that I would ask in the like first round interviews. And they like ask like, do you have any questions for us? And I think if you like word it in a way of just like, how would you describe like the culture? For me, like there's a lot of like religiously affiliated internships I applied, internships I applied for. And I was going to ask like how prominent that is on campus or like what that looks like. Because I think it also shows that you're kind of like doing your research and like stuff like that, which I think looks really good for a host as well.
Thanks all for sharing on that one. I know a question that I had sent to me was a question about the NOTA internship program and how that's the same or different than the ACUHO-I Housing Internship Program. We actually work in tandem to align our timelines. So while they are offering internships and orientation on college campuses, our offer dates are the same as theirs. Our interview timeline is the same. We work collaboratively on that. So if you were in both processes, you're not receiving an orientation offer 2 weeks before a potential housing internship offer. So just so you're mindful of that. And if you're going through both processes, bless you. But no, it'll be fine. We had a question come in. Is there a timeline on applying or accepting offers? I would say keep going through the process. Certainly if you're in this now, I'd recommend applying. And if you're unsure of your summer plans, and those could change, certainly you want to stay active in this process and potentially be transparent with those host sites that might be considering you strongly. But I would hate for someone to wait until their summer plans were clear to then start applying for internships, because at that point you might miss out on some opportunities that'd be great for you. And again, this is going to be a recorded session that we'll be putting up on our ACUHO-I YouTube page. I also link it to the login page for the internship program, so that should be helpful for all folks involved. Certainly, you all who are attending live today, you've been able to give us great topics to talk on, both through your registration materials and just attending live. As always, I invite you to use the purple chat box in the lower right-hand corner of any ACUHO-I page you're on. That gets you a direct message with me. Thanks, I'm always here to help you in this process. We're all in this together. I'd like to shout out our committee members who came on today and helped us through this process. So thanks so much for your input. I know we'll stick around. I'm going to end the recording. We'll stick around if there's any questions you want off the recording. And we'll be here if you need anything in the process. So thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.